Home is supposed to be the one place where you feel safe, where you can lock the door and leave the world outside. But sometimes the worst dangers don't come from strangers on the street. They come from the people living right next to you. Or worse, the people already inside. These are 3 true stories that prove your home might not be as safe as you think. I was 24 when my girlfriend Emma and I bought our first house together. It was small. A 2-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Rotterdam. The couple next door, Jan and Marie, were in their 60s. Sweet people. They'd bring us cookies. Help with yard work. Real community-type folks. 18 months later, Jan and Marie decided to sell. Their house was bigger than ours. Had a garage. A real bathtub instead of just a shower. They offered to sell it to us first before listing it publicly. We jumped at the chance. We moved next door. Put our old house up for sale. After reviewing applications, we chose a couple. A man and woman from Poland. Late 30s. They seemed normal enough. Polite. Asked good questions about the heating system and the water pressure. The first month was fine. We'd wave when we saw them. Small talk about the weather. Standard neighbor stuff. Then things started getting weird. It began with the noise. Late at night. Sometimes past midnight. We'd hear music. Not just loud. Absolutely blasting. The kind of bass that rattles picture frames. Then it would stop. No warning. Just sudden silence. One morning, I saw the husband pull into his driveway. Both sides of his car were scraped to hell. Deep gouges running the entire length. Like he dragged it against concrete at high speed. I asked what happened. He said he hit a pole on one side, and a truck clipped him on the other. Different days. I didn't push it. But the story didn't make sense. A week later, the husband called Emma in a panic. Said people were outside his house, messing with his security cameras, turning them away from the doors. He begged us to look and call the police. We checked. Sure enough. 2 men. They weren't just adjusting cameras. They were prying open the back door. We called the cops immediately. Gave descriptions. Stayed on the line. By the time police arrived 20 minutes later, the men were gone. The neighbor's wife showed up shortly after. Parked her car in the middle of the street and ran inside crying. Checking on her dog. A little French bulldog. I walked my own dog past their house to see what was happening. That's when I noticed something strange. The husband. He'd parked his car 3 streets away. And walked to the scene. Like he didn't want the police to see his vehicle. Later that night, I checked our doorbell camera footage. The 2 men who broke in were visible before the break-in. Standing on the neighbor's porch. Speaking Polish. Casually. Like they were deciding which house to target. Nothing was stolen. No one was arrested. I told the police it felt staged. They took a report. I never heard back. A week passed. Things were quiet. Then one Saturday night, I was at a friend's birthday dinner when Emma texted me. The music next door was insane again. Shaking our walls. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Emma was screaming. A car just crashed through our front garden. Smashed straight into the neighbor's front door. 2 men were inside the neighbor's house. Loading electronics into the car. Flat-screen TVs, speakers, laptops. Emma said they looked like the same 2 men from last week. This time, the police were faster. 7 minutes. They arrived while the men were still loading the car. The officers approached. Asked for ID. Both men said they didn't have any. Then the driver looked the officer in the eye and said his name. He used our neighbor's actual name. But here's the thing. In the 9 months we'd lived next to this couple, the neighbor had never spoken Dutch. Not once. Only English and Polish. This man in the car spoke fluent Dutch. Heavy Polish accent. But fluent. The officer's face changed. He stepped back. Reached for his radio. The men slammed the car into reverse and floored it. A chase followed. Tires screaming through residential streets. The police boxed them and 4 blocks away. Arrested both. But Emma said she still heard movement inside the house. The police went back in. Dragged out a 3rd man. Hiding in the bedroom closet. While we were giving statements to an officer in our living room, the doorbell rang. I opened it. And there he was. Our neighbor. The real one. I didn't recognize him at first. His face was destroyed. Swollen. Bruised black and purple. One eye completely shut. His lips split open. His right arm hung limp. Covered in cuts. Defense wounds. He looked feral. Desperate. Broken. The officer tried to talk to him. Asked what happened? Who did this? The neighbor refused to answer. Refused to file a report. Said he didn't want police involvement. The officer had no choice. If the victim won't cooperate, there's nothing they can do. He let the neighbor go back to his house. 2 hours later, our doorbell rang again. The neighbor was trembling. Face still bloody. He said he cheated on his wife. Said she found out. Said she sent people to hurt him. He begged to sleep at our place. Just for 1 night. We said no. We wanted nothing to do with whatever this was. Emma offered to drive him to the hospital instead. We dropped him off. Told him we were staying at a friend's place because we didn't feel safe. We didn't stay anywhere. We went home. Locked every door. Every window. Around 1 a.m., our dog started growling. A low, warning growl. He only does that when someone's outside. I checked the doorbell camera. The neighbor was back. Standing on our porch. Ringing the bell. Over and over. We didn't move. Didn't turn on any lights. Just watched the screen. Then headlights turned onto our street. The neighbor panicked. He jumped off the porch and hid behind our car. Crouched down. In the shadows. A car stopped. A woman got out. His wife. She walked toward her house. Then stopped. Looked at our driveway. She saw him. She walked toward him slowly. As she stepped into the light, she started crying. Not normal crying. Wailing. A deep, guttural sound. She kept asking questions in Polish. He didn't answer. Just stood there. Broken. Eventually, they both got in her car and left. We didn't see them for 3 days. When the wife finally came back, she was alone. She told us she didn't think she'd ever see her husband again. We still don't know the full story. Drugs. Debt. Something darker. We moved 6 months later. I never want to know what really happened in that house. I was 15 when my family moved into a split-level house in the suburbs outside of Toronto. My bedroom was on the ground floor. Half basement, half main level. One wall connected to the garage. The opposite wall had a large window facing the backyard. The window had vertical plastic blinds. Several panels were missing. Even when fully closed, I could see outside through the gaps. My closet had sliding mirror doors, which meant no matter which way I faced in bed, I could always see the window, either directly or reflected. I started noticing things about a year after we moved in. I'd be watching videos on my tablet late at night. struggling to fall asleep like usual. And I'd hear something outside. Footsteps. Or shuffling. The first time it happened, I paused the video. The sound stopped. I assumed it was part of what I was watching. I resumed. Heard it again. I looked at the window. Saw nothing. Eventually fell asleep. A few nights later, it happened again. This time, I listened longer. I swear I heard breathing. Slow. Steady. Close to the window. I looked at the window. Nothing. I convinced myself it was my imagination. Turned to face my closet instead. As I picked up my tablet, I saw something move. In the mirror. A shadow. Through one of the gaps in the blinds. I got up immediately. Went to wake my parents. Told my dad what I saw. He didn't believe me. But he went outside to check anyway. He came back 5 minutes later. Said he didn't see anyone. Said if someone was there, he would have heard the backyard gate squeak. Or heard them running away. He checked the Ring camera. No one on video. I suggested they could have jumped the fence. He shut that down. Told me we lived in a safe neighborhood. Said I watched too many horror movies. I went back to bed. Tried to forget it. Every few weeks after that, I'd hear it again. Footsteps. Breathing. Sometimes scratching on the window screen. Each time, I told myself it was in my head. When winter came and snow covered everything, the sound stopped. I forgot about it. But the next spring, it started again. Once or twice a month. Always after 11 p.m. I stopped looking at the window. Stopped looking at the mirror. I'd watch videos with headphones. Try to drown it out. One night I broke my own rule. I looked at the mirror. Just for a second. I saw a silhouette. A person. Standing right outside my window. I ran upstairs again. Woke my dad. He checked the backyard again. Same answer. No one there. I believed him. Again. This went on for 2 more years. I started going to bed earlier. Watching videos louder. Avoiding the window completely. It always stopped in winter. Always started again in spring. In December 2021, there was a massive windstorm. I was on a Discord call with my boyfriend. Playing games. Around 11:30 p.m., I went to get water. I saw my parents sitting in the living room. They never stayed up that late. Their faces looked tense. I asked if everything was okay. They said it was fine. Told me to go back to my room. As I turned toward the stairs, I saw flashing red and blue lights through the front window. A police car was pulling into our driveway. My parents stood up immediately. Rushed me to my room. Said they'd call if they needed me. 2 minutes later, they called me back upstairs. This time, they told me everything. My dad had gone outside during the windstorm to check the yard. Make sure nothing blew over. While he was out there, he noticed light from my bedroom window. It was illuminating something on the ground. Something dark. As his eyes adjusted, he realized it was a person. A man. Standing motionless outside my window. Staring in. My dad yelled. Started running toward him. The man turned and ran. Jumped the back fence like he'd done it 100 times before. Disappeared into the neighbor's yard. My parents called the police immediately. Knocked on the neighbor's door to warn her. The older woman who lived there yelled through the door. Told them to leave or she'd call the cops herself. Wouldn't open the door. The police arrived. took a report. My dad hadn't seen the man's face. Just a dark figure. The police said they'd increase patrols. Recommended more cameras. In that moment, everything I tried to convince myself wasn't real became fact. Someone had been there. For years. Watching me. I switched bedrooms that week. I can't look at windows facing the backyard anymore. I still don't know who it was. Or what they wanted. The neighbor's reaction still bothers me. Why threaten my parents for trying to warn her? Was she protecting someone? Did she know who was out there? I'll never have answers. And honestly, I'm not sure I want them. I was 15 when my family moved into a house in a suburb outside of Edmonton, Alberta. It was cheap. My parents were expecting my little sister. We needed more space. The house wasn't perfect, but it had room to grow. My dad renovated the basement. New carpet. Fixed the bathroom. Fresh wallpaper. He let me pick the pattern. My bedroom was down there. Ground level. One small window facing the backyard. A closet. And a tall bookshelf built into the wall. For the first few months, everything was fine. Normal. Then one night, we came home from dinner. It was my dad's birthday. We'd been gone for 2 hours. The front door was wide open. My mom panicked. Begged my dad to drive us away. He grabbed a wrench from his truck and went inside instead. Told us to call the police and wait in the car. The police arrived 5 minutes later. Searched the house. Found my dad. He told us nothing was stolen. No one was inside. But some things had been moved. Books knocked off my bookshelf. A chair moved. The police confirmed the same. We went back inside. Still uneasy. From that night on, I'd hear noises. In the walls. Under the floor. I assumed it was old pipes. The house was old. It made sense. Until one night, I heard something that didn't make sense. It was 2 a.m. I was playing my Nintendo DS under the covers. Volume off so my parents wouldn't know I was awake. I heard laughter. Clear. Distinct. Coming from the wall next to my bed. I froze. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. I waited. 30 minutes. Nothing happened again. I convinced myself I imagined it. Eventually fell asleep. A few weeks later, my sister was born. She was too young for her own room, so my parents put her crib in my bedroom. They set up baby monitors. One in the living room. One in the kitchen. One night, my parents went out for dinner. Left me to babysit. I was watching TV in the living room when I went to the kitchen for a snack. That's when I heard it. Through the baby monitor. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. In my room. My sister started crying. Then I heard a voice. A man's voice. Shushing her. Telling her to be quiet. Then a crash. I didn't think. I ran to my parents' room. Grabbed my dad's rifle. I didn't have the key to unlock it. Or any ammo. I just held it. Hoped it would be enough to scare someone off. I opened the basement door. Walked down the stairs. My sister was crying in her crib. The baby monitor was on the floor. Knocked over. No one was there. I yelled. Said I was armed. Said to come out. Nothing. I grabbed my sister and ran upstairs. Locked the basement door. Pushed a chair under the handle. Called my parents. They called the police. Got home as fast as they could. The police arrived first. Made me wait in the patrol car with my sister while they searched. When my parents arrived, I told them everything. The officer came out and said no one was in the house. As they were about to leave, my dad asked them something. He asked if they checked behind the bookshelf in my room. The officer looked confused. My dad asked him to come back inside. Show him what he meant. We went downstairs. My dad walked over to the bookshelf, pulled on the edge. It swung open, like a door. Behind it was a small room, maybe 4 feet wide. Pipes running along the walls. And on the floor, food wrappers. A cup that had gone missing weeks ago. An empty lotion bottle. A switchblade. And an apple. Half eaten. Still fresh. Someone had been living in our house. In that little room behind my bookshelf. The basement window was wide open. My desk chair was under it. The person escaped while we were outside talking to police. A few days later, I went into that room myself. Looked around. That's when I found it. A small hole in the wall. Drilled through. When I looked through it, I could see my bed. My dresser. Everything. Whoever lived in there had been watching me. For months. Maybe longer. Watching me sleep. Get dressed. Do homework. Talk on the phone. Play video games. Everything. I'm 22 now. I live in my own apartment with my boyfriend. My parents still live in that house. They sealed the bookshelf shut. Covered the hole. But I still think about it. About how long someone was there. Watching. Waiting. And what they were planning to do. 3 homes. 3 invasions. 3 people who thought they were safe behind locked doors. If you've ever felt like something was off in your own home, trust that feeling. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories. Until next time, lock your doors. Check your windows. And never assume you're alone.